and thank you for honoring the invitation to be part of the first edition of the Africa Young Leaders Summit. I know that by the time you are off from here, you carry a lot of goodness and you'll be transformed. I would want to take this opportunity and singular honor to introduce our speakers, and then we'll introduce our guest speaker who will be giving us the keynote address. So we have Mr. Kayonite, who is a clinical psychologist. Shall we give it up to him? And he is the CEO of AYLS Diagnostics. We have Madam Agnes Ivy Harrison. She is a commercial manager at the Standard Bank. Let's give it up to her. She's in our list. We have Esquire Nana Yabiama Edibwanpo in our list. He's a lawyer by profession, and he's at the Ghana Bar Association as well. We also have Mr. Daniel Alpha Bentun, who is a friend, a colleague. He's a superintendent at the AngloGold Ashanti Obuasi. He's the one who's heading our economic development unit. He too is also in our midst. Let's give it up to him again. And we have Dr. Kwame A. Before in our midst. He's a lecturer at the Department of Human Resource and Organization at the KUST department. And most importantly, we have the main man to give us our keynote address. He's the managing director of AngloGold Ashanti. I would say the biggest underground mining company in Ghana. He's no other person than Engineer Dr. Samuel POBEE. Let's give it up to him. The future is now. It's not any distant away from us. And it behoves on the young people who are here. We have gathered these people and these important personalities to help us shape our vision, our mindset, so that when we are given the baton, the responsibility will be able to carry it along. We don't need to travel far away to make it. We can make it here. But it starts with you today. It starts with your mindset. If you can change your mindset, I believe that our special guests that we've invited to speak to us, you can get to where they are. Without much ado, I would like to call on Engineer Dr. Samuel POBEE to give us the keynote address for the first edition of the African Young Leaders Summit. Please give it to him. Give it to him. Please, let's rise to our feet as he comes to give us our keynote address. And keep clapping until he takes the microphone.
Thank you very much. Kindly take your seat. Thank you. Okay. Good morning once again. Distinguished guests, political leaders, organizers of this African Young Leaders Summit, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and more importantly, the young people gathered here today, good morning. I want to thank the organizers of this program for inviting me to come and speak to the young leaders in Africa. And I think one of the key things I like about them is they taking this strong initiative, which is something that I am really happy to see young ones doing. I'm deeply honored to be with you here in Obuasi. And when I saw the theme for the summit, the future is now, developing African next generation of leaders and policymakers, I stopped at these words. The future is now. Not tomorrow, not when you finish university, not when somebody gives you a job, not when you become rich, not when somebody appoints you, but now. Because one of the greatest mistakes we make in Africa is that we keep describing young people as the leaders of tomorrow. My young brothers and sisters, I have come this morning to challenge that statement. You are not merely the leaders of tomorrow, you are the leaders of today. Tomorrow is being determined by the decisions you make today. And Africa cannot afford for another generation to sit in the audience waiting for somebody else to build the continent we dream about. Let me begin with Ghana. When Ghana gained independence in 1957, our population was a little over 6 million people. Today, Ghana's population is over 34 million people. Think about that. In one lifetime, we have multiplied our population more than 5 times. That is not necessarily a problem. 34 million people can mean 34 million possibilities. It can mean millions of minds, millions of ideas, millions of entrepreneurs, millions of innovators, millions of problem solvers. But there is another side to that story. Every year, hundreds and thousands of young people enter our labor markets. They finish SHS, technical school, university, and complete national service, and then comes one question: where is the job? That question has become one of the defining questions of our generation. Recent Ghana Statistical Service data should concern every leader in this country. Youth unemployment among people aged between 15 to 35 average about 22%. In the second and third quarter of 2025, among those aged between 15 to 24, it was about 33% of unemployment. Even more sobering, Ghana Statistical Service reported recently that young people aged between 15 to 35 constitute about 67% of Ghana's population. That's significant. So our greatest national resource is not gold. It is not oil. It is not bauxite. It is not lithium. Our greatest national resource is our young people. But resources only create value when they are developed. And I know that because I'm a miner. You can have one of the richest ore bodies in the world in the world underground, but until somebody discovers it, develops it, mines it, processes it, and converts it into value, it remains potential. And that is the challenge we have as Ghanaians, that almost 37% of our population are young and vibrant youths. And I want to tell every young person here, there is an ore body inside us. There are ideas inside us. There are businesses inside us. There are innovation inside us. There are solutions inside us. There is leadership inside us. The tragedy would be to live your entire life and leave that potential unmined. I have said this before, and I want to repeat it today. Education is the key. We have told generations of Ghanaian children, go to school, learn hard, get good grades, go to university, get a degree, then you will get a good job. But today, thousands of young people have done exactly what society have asked them to do, and the jobs are not there. So somewhere along the way, we must ask ourselves, if education is the key, where is the padlock? Part of the uncomfortable answer is this: poor political leadership and weak economic structure have too often taken the padlock away from the key. We have educated young people without creating enough industries for them to work in. We have expanded access to education faster than we have expanded the productive economy. And that is why leadership matters. But young people, hear me carefully. Do not allow the failures of leadership to become the excuse for the failures of your life. Demand better leadership. Demand accountability. Participate in governance. Challenge bad policies. Vote wisely. Enter politics if it's your calling. Become a policymaker, or we should become a policymakers. But whilst we are demanding that government changes, you must also change. Because government cannot employ everybody. AngloGold Ashanti, for example, cannot employ every youth in Obuasi. The banks cannot employ everybody. The telecoms companies cannot employ everybody. The public sector cannot employ everybody. And so Ghana needs a fundamental shift in mindset. We must move from an economy dominated by who will employ me to a generation asking, what problem can I solve? From job seekers to job creators. Somebody may say, it is easier for you to say that you are the managing director of a mining company. Fair enough. But let me tell you something leadership has taught me. Every organization I have worked in pays people fundamentally for one thing: solving problems. The bigger the problem you can solve, the greater the value you can create. You see, our fathers and grandfathers went to school, and because they were under the colonial mindset, the thinking was that I go to school, I get a job, and then I go to school again to get a promotion. I remember when I was in Goldfields, especially those that have worked for a long time, they go to school, they come back, and they want promotion, similar to what normally happened in the public sector. But the question that we were challenged with was that it is not the degree that you hold, but it is the problem that you are solving. So, for example, you can be having a PhD in mining engineering. If you are not solving any problem, that doesn't bring promotion to your career. Entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs understand this. They don't simply ask where is the opportunity. They ask, where is the problem? Because hidden inside problems are businesses. Look around Ghana. Waste is a problem. Food preservation is a problem. There is a business there. Transport is a problem. Housing is a problem. Agricultural productivity is a problem. Access to technology is a problem. Education itself is a problem. Healthcare is a problem. Energy is a problem. Mining community development is a problem. Every one of these problems is also an invitation to entrepreneurship. So perhaps we have been teaching entrepreneurship wrongly. Entrepreneurship is not simply registering a company. Entrepreneurship is not simply printing a business card and writing CEO underneath your name. Entrepreneurship is not taking photographs for LinkedIn. Entrepreneurship is solving a problem for everybody who is willing to pay for the solution. So I encourage us, let us find a problem, solve it better, cheaper, faster, and that will be entrepreneurship. And there could not be a better place to have this conversation than in Obuasi. For more than centuries, generations have come to this town because of what lies underneath our feet, which is gold. But I want the young people of Obuasi to hear me carefully this morning. The future of Obuasi cannot depend only on what is underneath our feet. It must increasingly depend on what is between our ears. Gold is finite. Human imagination is not. Far too long, when some young people in mining communities see a mining company, the first thought is, how do I get a job there? I want us to develop another question. How can I build that this mine will buy? Sorry, what can I build that this mine will buy? That is completely different mindset. Instead of only asking, how do I become an employee of AngloGold Ashanti, for example, we should be asking, how can I build the next company capable of supplying AngloGold Ashanti with service? Can you build a technology company solving mining problems? Can you manufacture something we currently import? Can you provide engineering services? One of the things we're trying to do in AngloGold Ashanti, which we will inaugurate very soon, is to categorize things within our supply chain and make it local content, local in nature. That means it is only registered companies in Obuasi that can participate in that particular activity. So we shouldn't wait for that to happen. Let's start developing the capacity to be able to take advantage when it comes. What engineering solution can I provide? Can you build businesses around agriculture, logistics, environmental rehabilitation, tourism, accommodation, data analytics, or renewable energy? Can you start in Obuasi, grow across Ghana, and eventually supply mines across Africa? Why not? Somewhere in this audience could be a founder of a company that employs 10, another 100, and many other people. Let me tell you a research I did. I did a research and found out that Meta, which is Facebook, and for those who don't know how Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook, it was a school project. It was a database that was connecting the school, the students to their friends. You know, it was just a simple project, and he built a company around that. Today, do you know what is the value of Meta? Meta is about $1.4 trillion. And my research tells me that that company alone is worth more than the big 15 mining companies in the world. The top 15 mining companies in the world, their value is not more than Facebook. So that is the sort of mindset. And Mark Zuckerberg was like one of us. He was a student. He actually dropped out from his school to form this company. So we should shift away from how our parents used to live. They live in an era where they were working for the colonial master. And the colonial master take them to school to learn their language so that they can use them and work for them. This generation needs to shift away from that, and let's start thinking about how do we solve problems to make and create entrepreneurship instead of we continuing in the stead of our forefathers by looking for employment. It will start very small, but it will be very big. And let me tell you one other thing. This Facebook or Meta, the value of Meta is more than 121 listed gold mining companies in the world. So the value of Meta is 10 times the size of Newmont. So if you take all 121 listed gold mining companies in the world, just Facebook alone is valuable more than that. That is what this generation needs to look at. But we will have to change the way we think. Please understand me. There is nothing wrong with seeking employment. I have been an employee for most of my professional life. Employment teaches you, it gives you experience, it builds discipline, it exposes you to systems and networks, but employment must not become the boundary of your imagination. Your degree is not your destiny. Your CV is not your destiny. Your current circumstance These are not your destiny. Education should teach you not merely how to find work, but how to create value. So whether you become an engineer, a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, a policymaker, a farmer, an entrepreneur, ask yourself, what value can I create? Because Africa does not simply need more graduates. Africa needs more problem solvers. We don't just need certificates. We need competence. We don't just need qualifications. We need solutions. We don't just need people who can explain Africans' problem. We need people prepared to solve it. There is another disease that kills dreams. We call it, I am waiting. I am waiting for the capital. I am waiting for the government. I am waiting for the right connection. I am waiting to travel abroad. I am waiting until I get my master's. I am waiting until somebody discovers me. Young people, start where you are. Start where you are. I don't disapprove of connections or who you know. But that doesn't necessarily make you. What makes you is consistency, tenacity, and driving through the challenges of life. We can't leave our life to somebody we know to determine what our future will be. Let's start where we are. You see, the problem is that I have worked in Australia. I've been living in Australia for 14, 15 years, worked there, rose through the ranks. The issue is, it doesn't matter the successes that I achieved there. My respect there will still fall short until my country is transformed. Until it doesn't matter, you can travel outside there, you can rise, you can get all the degree, but they will look at you with a different lenses until they see how your country is transformed. It's almost like if you are rich and people look at your family and they are poor, they don't respect your wealth. So yes, we might want to travel outside, and that's one of the reasons why I came back, is that until we are able to transform our own country, it doesn't matter the status we achieve in somebody else's country, the respect will not be there. They will look at you, they will smile at you, with you, you'll be your friends, but back in their mind, they are thinking, if you are that smart, why is your country that way? That is the eye-opener for the Chinese. They came back to their country 40 years ago and look at the transformation they've been able to bring to their country in 40 years. What did they do? They took advantage of what others have done already. And their young guys became entrepreneurs. And today, there's a lot of industries there. That is what we need. We need to start now. You are a student, think about what can I create? How do I, and yes, money will be a challenge, but don't give up on that. Because every big businessman you see now started from somewhere. We should walk away from just looking for jobs to start thinking about becoming job creators. Learn what you don't know. Find people who know what you don't know and start from there. Your first business may fail. Start again. Your first application may be rejected. Apply again. Somebody may tell you your dream is impossible. Keep moving. You may start small. There is no shame in starting small. Every large company you admire today once existed only as an idea in somebody's mind. Don't despise the small beginnings. You don't need to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. Sometimes courage simply means taking the next step when you cannot see the whole journey. You know, when I graduated from university, everybody was, oh, let's go outside and work. Let's go outside and search for school. In fact, I tried. took my passport, going to pastors, praying on top. There's no anointing oil that did not touch my passport. When I go, they refuse me visas. I go again. Then I sat down and said, have I even explored opportunities in Ghana? So you see, most of the time it's a mindset. We are fixated on things, and good things around us we can't see. Because if your mind is that the only place that you have to be successful is outside, then you will never see the opportunities around you. So when I stepped back and said, why should I be going to this embassy and always being rejected? I looked around. The first company that I had, I was a crusher operator. I started as a crusher operator. That's not my profession, but I started there. And whilst I was there, I was looking for opportunities, building capacity, learning what does the mining industry needs to be solved. Then I found an opportunity. When the opportunity came and I applied, I got it. I was not waiting to be given the chance before I developed myself. What do you do whilst waiting is to develop capacity so that when the opportunity comes, you will be seen. The moment I got opportunity, my manager was like, did you say you were a crusher operator? Because I was so good at my job. Every year I was promoted. Every year I was promoted. Because I believe that if I want to do something, I need to do it well. Excellence. We need to strive for excellence. We need to strive for excellence. We need to make sure that when we get opportunity, we put in our best. Do not despise the opportunity that comes to you. Do it with your best, because you don't know who is watching you. You might be working, or you might be looking for opportunity. You are in a particular community. Let people see that this person is disciplined. He has excellence in mind. This summit is also about developing Africa's next generation of leaders and policymakers. So let me speak about leadership. I have occupied leadership positions in different countries, organizations, and one lesson becomes clear to me everywhere. Leadership is not a position, just like my good friend Clinton said. Leadership is responsibility. The question is not how many people report to me. The question is, whose life is better because I led? Or whose life is better because I lead? So, as I was saying, leadership is not in titles. It is about lives that we impact. You can become a leader when you can become a leader when somebody appoints you as a CEO. Sorry, you don't become a leader when somebody appoints you as a CEO. You don't become a leader when you become an MP. You don't become a leader when you become a minister. You don't become a leader when people call you honorable. Leadership begins the moment you accept responsibility bigger than yourself. That is leadership. Let's walk away from that title. Leadership is never in titles. It is about taking initiatives. It's about, so you can be a young person that you can have an impact in your communities. It is never in the titles. It is about you taking steps to impact and influence the life of people. And the moment we see it is in leadership, in titles, we will not be able to impact the life of others. And we've seen it when people go into political positions, because they were never leaders in the first place. So it is not when they become MP or a minister or a CEO that we see their leadership. Their leadership is in them, in the initiative they start taking. So if we want to change the crop of leadership that we are seeing in our country, it has to start from us. Political leadership is a fabric of the societies we are in. We are not different from the politicians, because it is us sitting here that becomes the politicians. So the person did not have that character only when he became politician. It is something that was not developed in him or her. That's how come that is it. So leadership is never entitled. I've never believed in that. All organizations that I've joined, before I joined, I'll read about the leaders in that organization, because leadership matters. Africa desperately needs this kind of leadership. Leadership that is selfless. Leadership that thinks about how do I impact the life of others. All we see is corruption. And that's why we should not accept our leaders mostly telling us that it is the colonial masters. That particular excuse is fast gone. We are almost 70 years old. Why do we say that is the colonial masters? That irresponsibility at play. Okay, I associate that example with, imagine your father complaining that her employer is not paying him well, paying him something small. But at the end of the month, he spends all his time at the beer parlor, drinking, socializing, spending the money. And then when the money finishes, he said, you see, my employer is not paying me well. The small that you got, what did you do with it? So let's even assume it's the fault of the colonial masters. All the resources we get from tax and other things, what do we see? We see it in being spent on things. Look at how much corruption scandals that come, government after government, that we have to deal with. What is that money doing? So as young people, we should not budge for that excuse of blaming colonial masters who left us years ago. At least we should demand that, what did we do with the resources that we have? Just like you tell your dad, you've been complaining about that salary is small, but when you get it, you are drinking. You are having parties because it's small. So we got to hold our leaders accountable. We need to make sure that there's leadership that serves the people. Competent leadership. Leadership with integrity. Leadership that thinks beyond the next election. Leadership that understands the economy. Leadership that creates institutions rather than personalities. Leadership that understands that public office is responsibility, not opportunity for personal enrichment. But young people, be careful. It is very important to criticize today's leaders while practicing tomorrow's corruptions in a small way today. If you cheat in an exam because you can't get away with it, you are not different. What will you do when somebody puts millions of cedis under your authority? If you cannot keep your word when nobody knows you, why should Africans trust you when somebody knows you? Character does not suddenly appear when you receive power. Power reveals the character that was already there. So build your character now. Build your competence now. Build your discipline now. Build your values now. The future is now. Don't wait till you get power. And to the young people interested in governance, I want to say something important. Do not conclude that politics is too dirty for good people. Because when good people withdraw from leadership, they create a space for others to make decisions for them. Africa needs brilliant young people who understand public policy. People who understand the economy, people who understand technology, mining, agriculture, and business. People who can disagree without becoming enemies. People who can put Ghana above political parties. our democracy will mature when young people stop asking only which party do you want to belong or which party do you belong to, but begin to ask what problems are you solving. We need to ask our political leadership, what problems are you solving? Ghana does not need NDC unemployment or MPP unemployment. Unemployment has no political power or political color, to put it that way. Poverty has no political party. When a graduate sits at home for 3 years without a job, his hunger does not ask whether the government is NPP or NDC. You know how many people applied for national service with us last year? We had a slot for only 70. 4,000 plus applied. That's even after constraining it and saying we need engineers. We need people who have just graduated. That's over 4,000. I was so touched about it that I had to increase it to almost 110. Because where are they going to go? That is the problem we have. And young people, we cannot be used as tools of this. No, they are not fixing the problems that needs to be fixed. And we need to show the leadership direction and ask the tough questions without being afraid. There may be somebody sitting here today thinking, but I'm only from Obuasi. Never say that. You are not only from anywhere. The internet has changed the geography of opportunity. You can sit in Obuasi and build something from Accra. That is the opportunity we have. See, when they say life begins at 40, this is in the 70s. In your generation, life begins at 18. Because in their generation, they did not have the mobile phones you have. They didn't have the world in their hand. They were not exposed as you are. So if you think life begins at 40 in this generation, you are lost. And never think when you grow you'll be rich. There is no correlation between your age and wealth. So when we become more responsible in the small things we have, that is where we grow. So start from now. Don't go and buy big phones when you have money, when you can use it for just to go and say, I use iPhone, what is the current one? 17. And put it on social media. No. Do you know the secret behind the Chinese success? It's because an average Chinese saves more than 40% of his salary. That is how wealth is created. Now, American is going back because they have been borrowing themselves into poverty. They are living above their means. Whilst China, an average worker saves 40% of his salary, living within their means. What that means is that there will be more money in the economy for others to borrow for business. That is how businesses grow. Economies grow by a good savings culture. It's not about taxation. It's not about that. It is more about how the citizens save. But if we make money and all we do is to spend and spend, we will never go anywhere. So let us change the way we think about things. And to just bringing my speech to an end, sometimes the reason we limit ourselves is because nobody in our family has done it before. Nobody in our family has built a company. Nobody from my school has become a CEO. Nobody from my community has studied at a university. Nobody like me has entered that profession. The community I grew in, I was the first person to graduate from secondary school. Those that started never completed. The famous job was to become a trotro driver, a trotro mate. So become the first in everything. You can become the first. You can become the first entrepreneur in Obuasi that has created the biggest company that is now employing millions of people in the world. It is possible for you to achieve that. Somebody must prove that a young person from Obuasi can build a globally competitive business. Why can't that be you? Your background may explain where you started. It does not have the authority to decide where you finish. Imagine with me for a moment. Imagine if you are just 100. Imagine if just 100 young people in this room each build a business that eventually employed 100 people. That is how many? 10,000. Imagine those businesses start paying tax. Imagine those employees educating their children. Imagine those businesses buying from other Ghanaian businesses. Imagine them exporting. Imagine some becoming multinational African companies. That is how economies transform. All the companies that are coming into Ghana from China, they started small. In fact, the engine that is here today, it was a local company in a region that has grown, and now it is here. That is how we need to think. And it cannot be left to the grown-ups. Young people need to think that way. Let me conclude. Somewhere in this room is a future CEO, a future minister. Somewhere in this room is a future member of parliament. Somewhere in this room is a future scientist, engineer, technology founder, a big entrepreneur, a policymaker. But none of these futures will happen simply because you attended Africans Young Leaders Summit in 2026. Conferences do not change countries. Otherwise, we would have changed the country and Africa for a long time. Because we do a lot of conferences and summits. We always dialoguing. We talk. In fact, after election, there will be talk on radio stations. Then we go for another election. But yet nothing has been done. So conferences will not bring any change. People do. Taking motivational speeches do not transform lives. Decisions do. Making a deliberate decision that I am going to do this. I am going to try this. Most of you, you don't even take your CV anywhere. You don't even try. Your friend says, well, put something on the platform. When I went to AGA, they didn't pick me. Then you also joined the bandwagon. You should also go. Don't go because others are saying it. Have you gone there yourself? Don't listen to that. Make a decision that I'm going to take initiative. If you live here and you still go and do the same thing, nothing will change. You can't be doing the same thing and expect a different result. And that is what we as a country have been doing for the past 69 years. We've been doing the same thing and expecting different results. That will not change. We need leaders like you to enter because you see the current leadership, they do not understand your plight. Most of them went to university when it was free. They do not understand that. You understand your generation better than them. That is why we need to be at the place of decision making. Ask yourself, what will I do differently on Monday morning? What problem will I begin to solve? And if we do that, we will see a different leadership. So my final words is that take advantage of this summit. Take more notes. But on Monday, put an action plan together that you're going to embark on. Because what changes life is mindset. What changes life is decision. What changes life is taking a step and an action, not just listening. Even the good book says that if we don't become hearers only, but become doers of the word. So I hope that you will get a lot of benefit out of this. Thank you for your attention, and God richly bless you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dr. Samuel Obuasi. Please, let's give him a standing ovation and keep clapping. He's giving us a very, very insightful keynote address with a lot of takeaways, Let's do it again for Engineer Dr. Samuel Obuasi. He's really spoken much. Please have